Alright guys, so take a look at this bike. This is 2021 Honda CBR 500R. Like a sport bike. Pretty awesome little sport bike. And kind of the interesting thing about this, it almost looks like an insect, like a little bug. The other thing that's kind of interesting on this bike that I noticed is normally on these sport bikes you actually have like a double disc brake. This one just has a single disc, and it's not like a Brembo brake on that one, which is pretty interesting. And I actually took I had my first ride on a sport bike, and everyone's like, man, you got to get the RPM up. So on this one, I'm going to definitely try to get the RPM up higher and see the true potential of this bike. All right, so let's see. Need to put it into neutral. Ooh, it shifts really super easy, really easy. And then the key, it actually has a key that you turn it on. Pull in the clutch, hit the on button, hit the start. All right, so kind of the interesting thing on this one, a little bit of play in the throttle, which is kind of interesting that some of them have that play. This one's not as bad as some of them. And the friction zone, let's see, let me actually put it in gear so you can actually see the friction zone. It actually starts engaging. It's not really harsh where it just jumps once you hit the friction zone. You got the gear indicator, you got the RPM. It looks like you can go up to 8,000 RPM on this one, which is, I've actually seen some of them go way up past 8,000. So we'll try to get it up a little bit higher. So it has a forward stance, but it's not as forward as like some of the double R's that I've seen. Has your typical blinkers that you'd find on your Hondas. Seems really super stable at slow speeds, which is pretty amazing. Like super slow, like walking speed. All right, so let me put my visor down a little. All right, let's get this thing wound up. Wow, that's like 6,000 RPM. Pretty fast little bike. It doesn't really feel like I'm going to lift the front end up. I'm going, let's see, 59, 60. Yeah, so about 4,000 RPM. It seems really well planted on the road. So, yeah. It seems like the suspension is really good for a sport bike. I'm actually surprised at how well the suspension is. Let's bring it up to, it has 6 gears. 6 gear, I'm in 6th gear going 60. We're at about 5,000 RPM, but it's not buzzy at all. It's buzzy if you really rev it out, but not really bad. Like at this, there's like no buzziness at all in the handlebars, which is pretty amazing. Lots of wind. You got that little deflector that seems like it pulls some of the wind off your chest. So, but kind of the funny thing is it feels like it's putting it right in my visor. Like I have my visor cracked just a little bit, like I normally do, and then like funnels all the air right up the crack in my visor, which is kind of crazy. So the speed limit's actually 65. Let's bring it up to 70. Seems pretty stable. We're at 66. All right, let's go up to 70. We're at 69. We're at 70. Wow. I'm actually surprised how well the suspension is. It just sucks up all the bumps. Probably the best suspension I've seen on a sport bike. Oh. Alright, let's slow down a bit. That wind coming up my visor. I know if I close my visor, it kind of messes up my audio. But yeah, as far as turning, it seems like it's really super well planted on the road. I think it's because the front tire is a little bit thicker. Alright, so I want to bring it down a little bit more. There's nobody behind me. We'll come down to 4th gear. We're going, let's see, 6,000 RPM in 4th gear. Yeah, it almost seems like you're wanting more power on this thing. Especially coming up from, you know, some of the really high-end sport bikes. You don't really feel like you could lift up the front end. I'm sure you could if you had the, if you really wound it out in like a low gear. Seems pretty well planted for the pit of the crosswind that we're kind of going through here. Alright, so I'm going to slow down to 50. The funny thing is on that display, it seems like there is kind of a glare. If you have your head at the wrong angle, but just kind of glance it down, I don't see any glare at all. It's like at the perfect angle to where it's not really glaring out the speedometer. Sometimes the glare is pretty bad on those speedometers. I'd actually prefer like a dial. I've actually seen some bikes where it completely glares it out. As far as the seat seems pretty firm, but it seems pretty comfortable, which is pretty amazing. I don't know what the seat material is as far as like the spongy material on the seat, but it's not really fatiguing, which is kind of surprising. My feet are like right straight directly below my waist, which is pretty comfortable. My knees kind of hug up around the tank, which is pretty awesome. It's a pretty quick little bike. It's pretty fun. It's a really fun bike. Alright, so I'm actually up here in Fort Collins, Colorado, at the Honda dealership, checking out some bikes, kind of going through a few bikes, so this will be kind of interesting. This is a really nice, I really like the gear indicators. That is really nice. Super slow speed stability is pretty incredible, actually. You can, it almost seems like it has a really fat front tire on that. Yeah, nice and fast. Yeah, with these sport bikes, you definitely have to wind them out. Doesn't feel like you'd pick up the front end on this one though, like you would on some of them. Yeah, really fun bike, and it's really not that expensive either. I think it was less than 10,000. As a matter of fact, I think it was under 8,000. So pretty amazing bike for the price. I love that gear indicator. You can tell exactly what gear you're in, which is really nice. Yeah, it's a really fun bike. Would I buy this bike? I might. Although if you were a speed demon, you might be wishing for more power. Although I don't know if it has different modes. I don't see like a mode switch on this one to where you can switch the different modes. I think it's just one mode. You know, some of them have like the road mode and the sport mode. You go into the sport mode and you have like twice the power. But yeah, then you just have the key right here. Pretty awesome bike. That's the first time I ever actually really revved out a sport bike to see the potential. But I can imagine if you were like on a 1000 or something, you'd be picking up that front tire all the time. It feels super light, which is pretty amazing. It's a really light bike, really super fun too. All right, guys, so that's pretty much it. Thanks for coming along. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.